Well, let's just let the listeners know first. The review of Dynamite will be on the Experience that we are recording in a couple of days. We're not doing any reviews today, but this is topical. This just happened. The clips are out there. Jon Moxley in an international title defense against Rey Fenix with Rick Knox as the referee appeared to, at a minimum, be knocked silly.
Well, at a maximum, they tried to do it again, and then he lost the belt that he just won because he was knocked silly, possibly twice. We don't know because in the match, because this was not the finish. This has been verified as factual. This wasn't a finish. Old Phoenix, he's gonna pick Moxley up over his shoulder and do what looked like an odd variation of a tombstone pile driver, except he's sitting down, he's putting Moxley, he's got him over his shoulder in like a power slam position, but then he tucks his head, Moxley's head, between Felix's own legs and then sits down. That kind of tombstone pile driver. And you can see from the clip all the things that were wrong with this, which we'll go into in detail in a second. But then he gives him that move, and he covers him. And old corpse referee goes down for the count, and Moxley's not moving. And he counts 1. Moxley doesn't move. 2. Moxley doesn't move. And he's going to count 3, and Moxley ain't moving, and he holds up right before he hits the mat, and Moxley still hasn't moved or kicked out.
The fans start booing because they obviously see what just happened.
Yes, it was not only a close-up on camera on television, but in the arena, it was deathly obvious that this guy had not moved a muscle. And then you see Moxley, and he may have said something beforehand, but you see Moxley say something again, something to the effect of, I would imagine, pin me, right? And then Felix, instead of, the guy's laying there and he's obviously been hurt because he's willing to unplanned lose the international title that he just won 2 weeks ago or whatever because he can't get up or something's wrong. So instead of Felix like running to the ropes and dropping an elbow on him or doing a flippy do and just giving him a little splash or something so the guy doesn't have to fucking move, Felix picks him up and puts him over his shoulders and gives him a little different kind of fucking thing that he just gave him that hurt him to begin with. And that one looked more dangerous than the first one, as far as dropping somebody on their head and neck. And then he covered him 1, 2, 3. And here's another thing. When Moxley told him, beat me, pin me, whatever he said, and Felix immediately gets up and starts pulling him up, Moxley went with it. Instead of saying, no, you fucking moron. What do you think I'm saying beat me for? I'm hurt. He went up with it as best he could and got dropped on his head again. This is the first time in history. Think about this. All the botches that I've seen, all the injuries that I've seen, either live or on tape, or all the wrestling I've watched, this is the first time where all 3 individuals involved were complete fucking idiots. I don't know how to explain what they were thinking. And
you think Moxley deserves any blame for this, or is it just purely the other two? Okay.
For the second one,
he shouldn't have gone up?
Fuck no. If you had dropped me on my head once to the point where I'm saying, fuck it, beat me, it's live TV, fuck the finish, pin me, I'm not kicking out, and this motherfucker goes to pick me up again, I said, fuck you. I'm paralyzed. Cover me. What the fuck? If you've gone that far already. But no, he's like, okay, I guess he's going to give me something else. I can't feel my feet, but you know.
What about Rick Knox's role?
Hey, okay, before we go into the pile driver mechanics, let's talk about the referee first. He's an idiot. We've mentioned that before, but in this case, referees in wrestling school are taught count it like a shoot. There was a big brouhaha with Vince before he had lost many of his faculties, but I bet there probably still would be, but this is 20-some years ago. God damn it, fine the referees. If a guy doesn't kick out and he doesn't count it, fuck it, I don't care if that's a finish. The heat went on the talent for not kicking out unless they were knocked out, in which case, no, you can't blame them. But the referee not counting, you could blame. It's not just a Vince thing for all you Vince haters. Bill Watts. And he wasn't the only promoter in the territories. They didn't fine people in Memphis. They just fucking starved them out and ran them off if they didn't want you around. But Watts would fine. Eddie Graham would fine. Or the referee would just get fucking tongue lashed and not booked. If a guy didn't kick out and the referee held up, it exposed the business and instantly as a buzz-killing moment, which this was. People booed instantly. It always is. And referees are told in major and minor companies. In OVW, we said that this is not novel. Count it like a shoot. If the guy doesn't kick out, it's his fucking fault. But it was obvious Moxley was not moving. There was no late kick. There was no question, did he get his shoulder up? He didn't move a fucking muscle. And Knox just held up because he comes from the land of Lilliputian play wrestling where, that's not the finish, and I know that. So I'm going to tell however many thousand people and however many 100,000 people watching on television that wasn't a finish.
Do you think referees should automatically know? I mean, is this something they're taught that you should know what to do if the guy doesn't kick out? You just keep counting. It's not your job to stop counting unless they really kick out.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's part of what referees are told is you've got to. Obviously, it's a work and you can't get in the way and you can't really enforce the rules, but you have to act like you're trying. And if you're not counting it like a shoot, one thing is you need the same cadence on your count to where guys that work with you often can really learn it and do those close kickouts and etc. But at the same time, if you're working with a guy for the first time, unless it's called for a quick count in the finish, fast count him, 1, 2, 3, whatever the fuck, then referees need to have the same fucking cadence so that guys know when to kick, whether they've worked with them or not. But that means not fucking holding up if it's goddamn obvious this guy hasn't even started to move yet. And, not only should it be fairly obvious that something's wrong, but also if you do your job, the fucking heat goes on him. And why would Plumber Moxley, of all the professional individuals in the world, not kick out when he sells almost nothing anyway, and his new belt was on the line? And then the referee's just standing there slack-jawed with hands akimbo while the guy picks the guy up that's not kicking to begin with and drops him on his head again. Yeah. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, Rick Knox, it's something everyone said. Everyone who's not a pro wrestling gorilla devotee will say that Rick Knox is the worst referee they've ever seen. And it's because he's less of a referee than just like a prop. And at times, the prop is like a tree or just something that doesn't move. Just stand in the corner and put your hands on your head. That's what referees do.
Well, and also it's so off-putting that he's so pale you can actually see his blood coursing through his veins. He looks like a fucking elementary school science project. But anyway, let's talk about the pile driver for a minute.
Yeah.
Because I've been pile driven by numerous people, right? Jerry Lawler being probably the most notable aficionado of the pile driver. And the first time I ever got pile driven, was by Steve Kern, though. It was a spike pile driver with Stan and Steve on a concrete floor in the Mid-South Coliseum. And I was scared shitless. He explained to me how to do it. If the guy bends you over and puts your head between his thighs, put your hands on the side of his knees. Not only does it help you post up, but also you're making sure that when he picks you up, your head doesn't pop out from between his legs and he can't control you as easy. And also, if your hands are there on the sides of his legs, that way when you go down, you've got something to gauge things, push off of, etc., as we'll get to in a second. When you pick the guy up, the legs got to go straight up in the air, because if they're bent and hanging over forward, then your weight's not distributed as well as it could be. The guy can't control you or protect you properly, so the feet go straight up in the air. When the guy's going to jump or sit down or whatever he does, your head is between his thighs, but you also have the ability, because you're braced with your hands on his knees and the sides of his legs, that when you feel his ass land, you can still tuck your chin a bit instead of having your head straight up and down, and nobody notices. And then it helps you push off to get a little pop out of it. Or if you're Rob Van Dam and he's got freaky fucking muscle control or whatever, you could, without even using his hands, he can pop off his shoulders and pop straight up in the air. And that's why I laughed when they banned the pile driver, right? They're talking about in the WWE, you can't drop anybody on their head, the tombstone or the pile driver, whatever. I would rather take 25 pile drivers in a row from Jerry Lawler, just one right after another, than let one of these fucking guys put me through a table. Because it's safe if both people know what they're doing. And I've been tombstoned by The Undertaker and Kane. And same thing. When he picks you up, it's just in reverse. Your head's between his fucking thighs. And you can, because of the way that anatomy bends your bodies, as they drop to their knees, you don't have to be head fucking first. You can tuck a little bit to take the brunt off. But with his motion, you can't fucking tell. And I know a lot of these goofy 150-pound gymnasts like take it on top of their head because they trust a guy to hold them. Well, fine, that's fine for you. But again, I'd rather take 25 tombstones from The Undertaker in a row than have one of these fuckers dive over the top rope onto me on the floor, whether I was laying there, standing there, or in any goddamn position in between. Because it's safer.
How about like Paul Orndorff? He would jump in the air.
And he was a fucking strong guy, and he had the technique, and his thigh muscles were massive, and your head never fucking touched. And he never hurt anybody. And it looked like it killed. That's the idea. It's supposed to look like it hurts you, but not. So, and it was some of the, because this pile dress sit down over the shoulder tombstone variation that old Felix was giving Moxley, you've seen, like, wasn't it Rikishi? Because I know some of the Samoan boys have done that, the over the shoulder, and they would drop to a sitting position suddenly.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Scott Steiner used to do the same thing, where their thighs were so big that it could cushion your head. If you go back, the shoulder was landing. The head was nowhere near the mat because of the big fucking legs. And with Scotty, it was a little closer than with Rikishi. But the violent motion of the downward and then the stop is what created the illusion. But what this fucking guy, Felix's thighs probably aren't any bigger around than mine. And his legs were spread. So Moxley's head went straight through. And it looked like, because Felix might have thought, because he had his left hand, I believe, cupping Moxley's back of his head, he may have thought, well, I've got him tucked. Well, it was just still propelling him downward. He went through in between old Felix's legs because they were spread outward and didn't get And there wasn't a lot of cushion there anyway. And the guy's so short that Moxley, his upper body is taller than most of the lucha guys that I would imagine that Felix works with anyway. So his head was going to be closer when he was over the guy's shoulder and going head first straight down. And I don't know why in the world, after he dropped him like that the first time, that Moxley would want to take any variation of another one.
Well,
and
if he was concussed and wasn't fully aware of what was happening, maybe, I mean, I'm not saying this happened, but you could see maybe he called for the finish again. They don't realize that he's concussed. Is that the only possible?
Or was there no, you wouldn't call for that finish again. It would say pin me or beat me or no, if you hit somebody in the head with a fucking frying pan, they're going to say, do it again. No, maybe was there a language barrier? I don't know. But if he's saying beat me or pin me or whatever, that doesn't mean pick me up and hurt me again. I'm just, oh my God. So the form on this thing was way off on the execution by Felix. And I don't know what was going on with Moxley. Okay, let me get up on your shoulders so you can fucking break it this time. My neck's only fucking traumatized. I don't know what the fuck was going on.
Help me get my vacation.
Help me get my vacation.
I want to go to St. Martin.
And Knox apparently needs to see somebody glued to the goddamn canvas screaming, help me, get me up, before he'll count 3.
He is the worst. I mean, it's comical how inept he is at every function of being a referee. Every tag match, you see him and he enforces nothing. He stands there confused.
But that's from seeing that, I can't honestly find any individual involved in this thing without some kind of fault. And like I said, as a referee, Knox would have been fined by numerous promoters over the years for a blatant count hold up like that when there was no effort to kick out. And then obviously when the guy's saying, pin me, beat me, whatever he's fucking communicating, that he's standing there while a guy picks him up again. And Felix, Jesus Christ, if I'm wrestling for a championship that I'm not supposed to win, and I do something to the champion and he indicates beat me, I'm not going to pick him up and even take a chance on hurting him again, am I? Am I an insane person?
Listen, I have no idea how all that broke down. Every outcome is ridiculous, though.
But then they said that Moxley, they thought he had a concussion in the back, but apparently he was okay, but they took Adam Cole to the hospital.
Yeah.
Because he jumped off the ramp to do a run-in and hurt his ankle. So, again, the luck of fools that this guy gets dropped on his head by a maniac twice, and he's okay, but Adam Cole jumps off the fucking entrance ramp. We got to cart him off in a meat wagon. What the fuck is going on over there?
And the man who did that to Moxley is also the man we saw have his arm snapped in half on live TV on this show.
Right.
It's all injuries everywhere.
He's back for revenge, folks. All injury wrestling.
You take my arm, I take Moxley's head.
Boy, that used to be the way that guys, if they didn't know each other, when they were wrestling each other for the first time and the heels and the baby faces were in separate locker rooms, when the bell rang and they came out to the middle of the ring, the heel would introduce himself. He'd say, "Hi, I'm Wild Bull Curry. Take my head." And the guy would get a headlock. Now, if you said, "Take my head," they'd really take it. And they might not give it back.
Well, we'll, I'm sure, have more to say about this when Jim actually gets to review the match. Rey Fenix and Jon Moxley at AEW Grand Slam. Maybe I've been dropped on my head a few times.
Do you think it'll ruin my enjoyment of the match to know the finish already?
No, I think you need to see the road to get there. the intricate story they told in this match to get to the concussion / beheading that happened at the end of the match.
I guarantee you he had already kicked out of 5 things that looked way more serious.
Yeah. And, yeah.
Yeah.
What more to say about that on the experience?